Okay. Yes, everything's fine.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I myself, Mona Bhukta, and I'm a PhD student with Professor Matthias Klaue at Johannes Gutenberg University. And today I will talk about room temperature stabilizations of skyrmionic surface magnetic textures and synthetic antiferromagnet. A brief introduction to skyrmions. Skyrmions are twisted spin configurations which can be stabilized by various interactions such as DMI, frustrated exchange interactions, and so on. These are characterized by a topological invariant called skyrmion numbers, which encapsulates the number of the time the skyrmion spins wraps around a unit sphere. Almost a decade ago, after its first direct observations, it has been a center of attractions due to its possible applications in spintronics devices such as racetrack memories, logic gate, or reservoir computing. However, the same spherical topology which gives the skyrmions additional stability also provides a negative effect like the skyrmion Hall effect. Because of that, the skyrmion moves perpendicular to the directions of the current flow, and which is detrimental for device applications purposes. There has been several approaches to reduce the skyrmion's Hall angles, and one of them is skyrmionium, where there is one skyrmion inside another skyrmion with opposite topological charge. Hence, the net topological charge becomes zero, and the skyrmionium can move without a skyrmion Hall angle. Skyrmion in antiferromagnetic sublattice is also another solution. In this work, we follow two approaches to reduce the skyrmion Hall angle. One is skyrmions in synthetic antiferromagnet or skyrmions in ferrimagnet. It has been shown using micromagnetic simulations that the skyrmion should have zero skyrmion Hall angle if they coupled by RKKY interactions and they moved as a composite structures. Also, using recently experiments, it has been shown that the skyrmion bubbles also moves without any skyrmion Hall angles. Another solution to reduce the skyrmion Hall angle will be a Q equal to 0 skyrmions in frustrated ferromagnet. So coming to the topics of the synthetic antiferromagnet, a synthetic antiferromagnet is a ferromagnet, bilinear ferromagnet with one separated by a non-magnetic spacers. The benefits of the synthetic antiferromagnet of the bulk ferromagnet is it has a weaker exchange interactions. Hence, we can tune these interactions by changing the thickness of the layers, and it's relatively stable against temperature. If both the layers we make purposefully uncompensated, then we could easily visualize it in Kerr microscope or magnetic force microscopy. On the other hand, ferrimagnetic spintronics has been a recent topic of attractions due to its high tunability due to the temperature. Higher stability near room temperature as well as larger perpendicular anisotropy, even if thick films, make ferrimagnetic materials as a possible candidate for spintronics. The questions arises, okay, it's cool, but if we have a synthetic antiferromagnet with fully compensated, how can we image it? Here, I would guide to one of the possible solutions is to image the fully compensated synthetic antiferromagnet is SEMPA. I would like to introduce to our scanning electron microscope with polarizations analysis SEMPA. The SEMPA can be used to visualize in-plane ferromagnetic domains in-house. It is basically an scanning electron microscopes with an additional spin detector. The primary electron beam from the SEM columns interacts with the ferromagnetic samples and the secondary electrons are emitted. As the ferromagnet possesses an inherent asymmetry in its density of states, the populations of the outgoing secondary electrons are spin polarized. These electrons enter the detector and scattered asymmetrically from these tungsten 100 crystals depending upon their direction. The scattered electrons are counted by 4 differential electrons placed at the lead spots, and hence it can help us resolving the magnetization into a horizontal and vertical component by counting the numbers with additional parameters S. As this technique is highly surface sensitive, we only receive the secondary electrons from the top layer, and we can utilize this property to image the synthetic antiferromagnet where we only probe the top ferromagnetic layer. As the first part of the project, we image the ferrimagnet. So let's see why we should use synthetic antiferromagnet with an example. Let's say we have a fourfold anisotropy with z-axis of irons. The SEMPA images give a horizontal and a vertical component simultaneously. And when you combine these two pictures, we can get a nice color code image which can give us every possible directions on the spin of the fourfold anisotropy. The same properties we can utilize to image the outer plane domains. Let's say we have a block skyrmions and a nil skyrmions. Both the SEMPA images will visualize it differently, and it along with combining with the tilting of the samples, we can actually determine the chirality from the top surface image, which is very nice. We also recently saw the time results sample with temporal resolutions up to 2 nanoseconds. For more information, please follow the reference papers. At the first part of the project, we try to stabilize a ferrimagnet alloy gadolinium iron cobalt. The stabilizations of the spin textures in the gadolinium iron cobalt is achieved by an in-plane cycling in-plane magnetic field, where the structure starts to nucleate randomly. In this picture shows the magnitude of the in-plane magnetic directions mx and my are in same path under zero magnetic field after the nucleation process. As you can see, the absolute in-plane magnetizations directions gives rise to only the domain walls. We can construct a color-coded in-plane domain walls where we observed a pure nil type clockwise domain walls in the sample. We see some small skyrmionic nil type of domain walls in the structures. Remarkably, also using the same in-plane magnetic field and oscillating it differently, we can able to see a skyrmionium in the same samples with very high resolutions. In these pictures, you can see a in-plane magnetizations of a skyrmionium and a color-coded magnetizations of the skyrmionium, which confirm not only the nil type chirality but also a Q equal to 0 type of structures, which can be used to reduce the skyrmion Hall effect in future spintronics applications devices. For more information, please follow our recent paper. As the second part of the work, we aim to stabilize the zero fields antiferromagnetic skyrmion in synthetic antiferromagnet in chiral domain and chiral domain walls. One of the basic properties that we use here is the interactions between the demagnetization energy and RKQA interactions. Let's understand this with an example. Let's say we have a ferromagnet with a perpendicular magnetic anisotropy. So there will be a higher demagnetization energy if everything is aligned perpendicularly. So these domains try to arrange in a multi-domain stage to lower the demagnetization energy as shown here. But if we extend this model to a synthetic antiferromagnet, that means if we have an interface and we add another layers of ferromagnet with opposite directions, we see that at the interface, the charges accumulated. And this actually acts against the RKQA couplings. And here we get a parameter to tune our domains by tuning the interactions of the RKQA and the demagnetization energy. If in the synthetic antiferromagnet we have a nil type of domain walls, due to the DMI, we see that the in-plane components actually favor at the interface, the demag energy actually favor the in-plane arrangement, which actually contradicts the outer plane's arrangement. So we could utilize these properties of the synthetic antiferromagnet to tune our system. Here we tuned a multi-layer cobalt iron boron, specifically 28 layers in a fully compensated set and having two different interfaces so that we can have GMI. After demagnetizing it with a monodomain with a magnetic field, we see a multi-domain states in the SEMPA images where we see a absolute clockwise nil wall on the top layer of fully compensated stuff, which is actually good. And more importantly, it takes 4 to 6 hours, which is relatively lower than the imaging time than the ferrimagnet. Here you can see that in the horizontal component, one side is black and the other side is white, whereas on the vertical component, the top one is black and the down one is white. In the same domain, you can see it here, which gives rise to a nil wall in a fully compensated synthetic antiferromagnet. We also further try to see the magnetic properties using squid, and here we see a very interesting properties. As you can see in the previous pictures that we see a multi-domain state. So what we expect in the squid, we should not see any remnants because it's multi-domain state. But in the outer plane easy access hysteresis loop, we see a remnants in the structures, which is very interesting. And then when we look up to the literatures, we see that there is not such observations or not such existence of such structures, but we see some existence of the at state number 3, vertical spin spiral antiferromagnetic domains. Then further, we did a micromagnetic simulations using our parameters and using the 28 layers of synthetic antiferromagnet, where we could see that at the remnants, we could stabilize two different kind of structures, that is the state number 6 and 7. Now I will guide you visually what what is happening in our switching mechanism. In the state number 1, everything is fully saturated. When you decrease the magnetic field, slowly the spin started flopping, and you get a spin flop state at number 2. And the spin flop states slowly get and converted into a Bhutican spin spiral state as shown in figure 4. However, this is at certain magnetic field, and when you decrease the magnetic field slowly, you'll get a fully compensated synthetic antiferromagnet domains with zero magnetic field. But there could be another metastable state, that is state number 7, where the Bhutican spin spiral state can goes at the zero field. And since, as I mentioned before, the demagnetization energy actually favors the in-plane antiferromagnetic arrangement rather than the outer plane, the demagnetization energy of the state 7 is lower than the state 6. But however, the total energy of the state 6 is higher. As you can see in the state 7, the top and the bottom layers is both pointed in the down directions. However, there is only 28 layers. So this gives rise to a remnants in our structures. So this could be also one of the possible explanations why we see remnants in our structures in a multi-domain states. For this, we have been working further to see if we get some if you could stabilize some 3-dimensional structures in the structures. To conclude, I would like to first say that we observe clockwise chiral domain walls and skyrmionium in the ferromagnetic alloy gadolinium iron cobalt with topological charge 0, which could be useful for future spintronics devices. Also, we could successfully image a fully compensated synthetic antiferromagnet, and we see a Neal type homochiral domains, and the micromagnetic simulation shows the evidence of vertical spin spiral structures is like a 3-dimensional structures in synthetic antiferromagnets, which is still need to be explored. With this, I would like to thank and acknowledge my funding agency Spin Plus X, 3D Magic, and DFG, and I would like to all my group members from Chloe Lab, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. We've got a really small amount of time for some small question. If the participants still not post something, maybe somebody want to raise a hand. If not, I've got some silly question. Was this your exotic effect theoretically predicted earlier?
The vertical spin spiral state or the
yes.
No, the theoretically it is predicted, but not at zero field, and we could predict it with they said that it could be possible, but it's not at zero field. We can stabilize our simulation shows that the structures could be stabilized using our parameters even at zero magnetic field. And this could possibly open up to a 3D magnetic structures in the synthetic antiferromagnet.
Okay, thank you so much.